Let's start on Dalet Ches.
Dalit?
Dalet Ches, yeah.
Why did I put that?
Because that's around the Chazaret is on base test.
Right. Dalit test. Dalit test.
Test 8.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's right. I marked with my pencil, but I don't have anything else. Okay. Beis Shammai permits the co-wives of an heir to the brothers of the deceased, but Beis Hillel forbids them. If they perform chalitza, Beis Shammai disqualifies them from the kahuna, but Beis Hillel deems them qualified. If they were taken in yibum, Beis Shammai deems them qualified, but Beis Hillel disqualifies them. And even though these disqualify and these deemed qualified, Beis Shammai did not refrain from marrying women of Beis Hillel, nor did Beis Hillel refrain from marrying women of Beis Shammai. And despite all the tahor and tama things that they deemed tahor, but these deemed tameh, they did not refrain from preparing tahor foods on the utensils of these. 3 brothers, 2 of whom were married to 2 sisters, and the third one was a bachelor. If one of the sisters' husbands died, and the bachelor performed mama with the widow, and then his second brother died, Beis Shammai says his wife may remain with him, and the other woman is his charge because she is his wife's sister. But Beis Hillel says he must discharge his wife with both a get and a chalitza. And his second brother's wife with chalitza. Concerning this, they stated, "Woe unto him over his wife, and woe unto him over his brother's wife." One who pronounced a vow prohibiting his wife to have marital relations, Beis Shammai say 2 weeks, but Beis Hillel says 1 week. If she miscarries during the night beginning the 81st day, Beis Shammai exempts her from additional offerings, but Beis Hillel obligates her to bring additional offerings. Regarding tzitzis in a linen night coat, Beis Shammai exempted, but Beis Hillel obligates it. In a basket of fruits for Shabbos, Beis Shammai exempted in it, but Beis Hillel ruled that it becomes a subject to type obligation. Okay.
Right. Yod Aleph. Misha Nadar Nazirus Meruba. Okay, so here's a guy who a stam Nazirus, as we know, is 30 days. But a person can make a Nazirus that's longer. So now, what happens if somebody makes a long Nazirus, let's say a year? He says he's going to be a Nazir for a year. V'hishlim Nazirus, and he completed the Nazirus. And then now, he was in Chutz La'aretz while this was happening. Now we know that there's right. We know that whole story of Hilni Amalka, right? So that's quoted in Masechtas Nazir in relation to exactly this machlokas over here. We don't quote it in the Eduyos, but at any rate, what happens when they come to Eretz Yisrael? Nazir shloshim yom. Forget it. Just do another 30 days and you're done. You completed it in Chutz La'aretz, and now you just do another 30 days for the Tumah of Chutz La'aretz, and we're done. Sorry, the entire first year was null and void. You got to do a full year in Eretz Yisrael if you want to complete your Naziris. Okay. Misha hayu shtei kitei edim me'idin also.
By the way, what's the halakha? Is it Beis Hillel?
Oh, it's Beis Hillel. It's always Beis Hillel.
Yeah. Not always.
Yeah, there are a few. There's a handful of cases where you pass from like Beis Shammai over Beis Hillel. Okay. So Misha hayushtei kita edim me'idin also me'idus also elu me'idin shenada shtayim elu me'idin shenada chamesh. So two different sets of witnesses come and say we heard Ploni saying that he was going to be a Nazir twice. The others and he said, "What are you talking about? We heard that we were there." And we heard him saying that he was going to be a Nazir 5 times. So the two sets of Eidim appear to be contradicting each other, and that's exactly what Beis Shammai says. Beis Shammai means nechleka Eidos. You've got a maflokis between the two sets of witnesses. This one says 2, this one says 5, and since they're contradicting each other, the Eidos falls away, and there's no Eid Naziris. So he's pater. So this is the kula of Beis Shammai. Listen, they're all agreeing that he said 2. This is just that there's another group saying that he said an additional 3. So Nazir Shtayim. So he does need to be a Nazir twice. Okay. Adam Shehu Nasun Tachas Asedek. Okay. So here we have a din in Ohalos. Now, if you recall in Ohalos, we have when you have Tumas HaMeis carried by a roof. But let's say there is a split in the roof. that is a tefach wide. Okay, as soon as the split in the roof is a tefach wide and there's no contiguity between the two, then the tumah can escape through that tefach. Okay, and therefore, if there's tumah under one side of the roof, the other side of the roof is tahor. There's no connection between the two. Which, by the way, is one of the ways that they sometimes build an ohel ames at the cemetery, so that kohanim can go under one side. They can technically be, they can hear, and the acoustics are pretty much the same, and they can hear everything that's going on, and they can see everything that's going on, except that the roof is completely open above them, and there's a tefach between them, so that the truma doesn't spread into where they're standing. Okay, but now in our case over here, a person went to sleep in the gap. He's lying down in the gap between the two. So now the question is, does that extend? Now, if for example, let's just make it in a simple case. If you built a little tent there, just a little tent that bridged the gap, even though the roof is way above, okay, but what we have is called good achis, where we take it there that this tent over here is brought up hypothetically to the top level, and it spreads the tumah between the two ohalos. Okay, now this is the mechanism that does work over here. Beis Shammai omrim ein levius tumah. It's like you've got a log lying in between the two. Okay, so you've got a log lying in between the two things that doesn't bring the tumah from one place to the other. Beis Hillel omrim adam chalol hu. A person is considered hollow, which means that he's lying there and we look at it as if there's an air gap underneath his chest, and his chest is the ohel now over what's underneath it, and that will spread the tumah from one ohel to the other. Adam chalon hu ba'atzad elyon maybe as a tumah. So again, another chumrah of Beis Hillel. Okay. By the way, we saw that also in ohalos as a general thing when we had a pile of clothing. So if you had a pile of clothing of separate things, you look at the top one as if there's an air gap below it. So it is acting as an ohel over everything else. So that can also be maybe the tumah. Okay, so that Perek now concludes all of the undisputed disputes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, where Beis Hillel is more machmir. But there are a few deos yachid in the coming chapter where various different Tanaim say that no, I've got a Masorah that Beis Hillel is also machmir in this. Okay, so now we're going to see all of those in the coming Mishnayos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shisha Dvarim Mikule Beis Shammai Mechumer Beis Hillel. I've got another 6 things to add to this list, where I hold that Beis Hillel is more machmir than Beis Shammai. Dam Nevelos, he says, when it comes to the blood of a nevela, Beis Shammai Metari and Beis Hillel Metamin. This is talking about about a revius of blood from a nevela, since from a revius of blood of a nevela, it would congeal. If it would congeal, you would find a kazayas of solids. And remember, nevela itself is metame b'mago v'masa. So if you had to touch or move that revius of blood, according to Beis Hillel, that would also be tame. Okay, second case, beitzas hanevela, an egg laid by a nevela. So you had a chicken that itself was a nevela. It was alive, but it was it was shechted. They shechted the chicken and found it or killed the chicken and found inside it. No, we're not talking about a trait. We're talking about a nevela, right? So the chicken died, or it was killed. The shchita was possible. So the chicken itself is a nevela. Im yesh kiyotze banim keres bashuk muteres. So if the egg itself is taken out of the chicken's body and the shell hardens to the state where it's like where it would be a regular egg in the shuk, then this egg is considered as if it was not part of the chicken's body. It was already separately formed, and therefore it's mutter. The imlav asura. But if it's not fully formed yet, then it's asur because it's something that comes out of an avela, and that's the opinion of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel Austrian, but Beis Hillel say it doesn't matter. In both cases, it's asur. It comes out of an avela. It is prohibited. Okay. Umodim bebeitas trefa. However, everyone agrees with the egg that comes out of a trefa chicken. Shehi asura. But even Beis Shammai will concede, because an egg that was produced by a trefa, whatever is, so that will also be asur. It grew in an asur place. Okay, that's case 2. Case 3. Oh, sorry, that's case 3. Case 4 is dam nochris, the blood of a Gentile woman. The dam tahara shel matzaras, and also the dam tahara. Remember we spoke yesterday about after childbirth. There's that period when any blood is considered tahor. But this particular woman, who's the dam tahara, also happens to be a tzara, have tzaras. So any liquids that come out of her are also tamei. Okay. Beis Shammai matarin. Beis Shammai say this is not these things are both tahor. Beis Hillel omrim keruka ukamei ragleha. This is like her spittle and her urine, which are matame as long as they're wet. Once they're dry, they're no longer. It's like any other kind of liquid that comes out of the body. Okay. Ochlin, next chumrah, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ochlin perish shvius b'tova v'shelo b'tova k'divrei Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai say if you go into somebody else's garden now to pick some fruit after Shemitah, do you have to ask permission? Can you ask permission? And Beis Shammai say it doesn't matter. If you want to, you can. You don't have to. Beis Hillel omrim ein ochlim ela b'tova. Beis Hillel say you still have to thank the person. You still have to say, may I pick your fruit? You have to go through all the pleasantries of doing it. Actually, there's another girsa that says, asur, that you're not allowed to give recognition to the person because it's not his. And by saying, may I please take your fruit, you're giving the impression that it's his right to say no, you can't. And it's not. Okay. Right. This is it's hefker, and it's hefker to everyone, and you cannot give the impression that it's not. So that's another possibility. Either way, it's a chumrah, because Beis Shammai says, yeah, whatever, and Beis Hillel says, no, you can't do it one way or the other, depending on which way you're holding. And I think this was I don't recall how this was phrased in Masechah Shvius. But anyway, let's move on. And the final case is hachemes, is a water skin. Beis Shammai omrim trura omedis. Right, the water skin only is susceptible to tumah. Okay, it's susceptible to tumah trura omedis once it has been bundled together, and it's omedis. It's got a hole in it. It's in nikva hachemes. If the water skin has got a hole in it, it only is susceptible to tumah until it's not susceptible to tumah until it's been tied up to block the hole and pinched together around the knot to make sure that the hole is blocked. Okay, up until then the water skin is tahor. The selalomim afal pisha ena tzurura. So no, even so Beis Hillel say no. As long as the hole has been blocked and tied, even though you haven't pinched it together to block the hole, to seal the hole properly, it's already susceptible to tumah, since it is possible to hold the water skin. It's possible to put liquids in the water skin before. And as before, without pinching it, so therefore it is already susceptible to tuma again. Okay. And base test.
Base test. He used to say, a father merits a son with beauty, but with physical strength, with material wealth, and with wisdom and Torah, and with years. And regarding the number of generations that is before him, but it is the time set by him. As it is stated, he proclaimed the generations from the beginning. For although it is stated with regard to the redemption from Egypt, and they will serve them, and they will oppress them for 400 years, it is also stated, and the fourth generation shall return here. Rabbi Akiva would say there are 5 things that are of 12 months duration. The judgment of the generation of the flood was administered over a period of 12 months. The judgment of Eov over 12 months. The judgment of the Egyptians was over 12 months. The judgment of Gog and his nation, Magog, in the future to come will occur over a period of 12 months. And the judgment of evildoers in Gehenna will endure for 12 months, as is stated, and it will be from a month to its month. The Yochanan ben Nuri says the judgment of evildoers takes place from Pesach to Shavuos, and it is stated from a Sabbath to a Sabbath. If any of the parts that convey tumah through Ohel were divided, and one brought the pieces into a house, the Eduyos ben Harkness rules that the person remains tahor, but the sages rule that he becomes tameh. How so? If one simultaneously touches 2.5 olive-sized pieces of nevela and carries them, or in the case of a corpse, if one touches a half olive-sized piece of a corpse while he forms a roof over an olive-sized piece, or if he touches an olive-sized piece with another olive-sized piece, forms a roof over him, and he forms a roof over 2 half olive-sized pieces, or he forms a roof over 1/2 olive-sized piece, while another half olive-sized piece forms a roof over him. In each of these cases, Eduyos Harkness rules, the person remains tahor while the common rule that he becomes tameh. If one touches a half-sized olive piece of a corpse, or something forms a roof over him, and another half-sized olive piece or a roof one forms a roof over a half-sized olive piece, while something forms a roof over him, and another half-sized olive piece, he remains tahor. Reb Meir says, even in this case, Eduyos rules that the person remains tahor, and the sages rule that he becomes tameh. In every case where a person is subject to tumah from 2 undersized pieces of a corpse, the sages maintain that he becomes tameh, except for a combination of touch and carrying in a roof. This is the rule according to the Kachamim. Any 2 associations from the same category render the person tameh, whereas from 2 different categories leave him tahor.
Okay. Right. Makos.
Okay, Gimel Yud Aleph. They may not assess him with any but lashes that may be divided by 3. If they assess him to be able to endure 40 lashes, and he was flogged some of them, and they said that he was unable to endure 40, he's exempt. If they assessed him to be able to enjoy 18, but after being flogged, they said that he was able to endure 40, he's exempt. If one committed a transgression consisting of 2 negative commandments, if they assessed him with 1 assessment, he is flogged and is exempt. Otherwise, he is flogged, allowing to recover and flogged again. How do they flog him? He binds his 2 hands on the post on either side, and the attendant of the congregation seizes his garments. If they tear, they tear, and if they split open, they split open, until he bares his chest, and the stone is placed behind him. The attendant of the congregation stands upon it with a calfskin strap in his hand, doubled 1 into 2 and 2 into 4, with 2 other straps running up and down in it. Its handle should be a handbreadth and its width a handbreadth, and its tip should reach the navel. He strikes 1/3 of the lashes in the front, 2/3 in the back, and he does not strike him either standing or sitting or bent over, as it is said, and the judge shall make him fall. The flogger strikes with 1 hand with all his might.
Okay. And Baba Matzia base test.
We'll start with what? We're going to finish Makos tomorrow.
Oh, do we finish Makos tomorrow? Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so after Makos is Shavuos.
Finish tomorrow, but we're not going to start Shavuos. We'll start Shavuos, I guess, on Sunday. All right. Baba Matzia. Beit 10. What is considered a lost article? If he finds a donkey or a cow grazing by the road, this is not considered a lost article. A donkey with no gear, its gear overturned, or a cow running among the vineyards, this is considered a lost article. If he returned it and it ran away, returned it again and it ran away even 4 or 5 times, he's obligated to return it, as it is said, you shall surely return them. If he refrain from earning a seller, he shall not say to him, give me a seller, rather he pays him his wage like an idle worker. If there is a court, he may stipulate before the court. If there is no court for whom he may stipulate, his own take precedence. If he finds it in the stable, he is not responsible for it. In the public domain, he is responsible for it. If it is in a graveyard, he may not contaminate himself for it. And if his father says to him, contaminate yourself, or he says to him, do not return it, he should not obey him. If he unloaded, loaded, unloaded, and loaded even 4 or 5 times, he is obligated, as it said in Shmos, you shall surely help. If he walked away and sat down and said, since the commandment is incumbent upon you, if you want to unload, unload, he is exempt. As it is said, with him, if he is old or sick, he is obligated. It is a commandment in the Torah to unload, but not to load. Reb Shimon says even to load. Reb Yosef the Galilean says if he bore more than his proper burden, he is not bound to him, for it is said, under its burden, a burden which it can bear. Yeah. That's it, I think, no?
No.
It's between his own lost article and his father's lost article. His own lost article takes precedence. Between his own lost article and his teacher's lost article, his own takes precedence. Between his father's lost article and the teacher's lost article, his teacher takes precedence, for his father brought him into this world, whereas his teacher who taught him wisdom brings him into the life of the world to come. If his father is a scholar, however, his father takes precedence. If his father and his teacher were carrying a load, he should pour down his teacher's and afterwards put down his father's. If his father and his teacher were in captivity, he should remain his teacher and afterwards ransom his father. If his father was a scholar, however, he should ransom his father and afterwards ransom his teacher. Okay.
Right, Boyd Cotton, Aleph Yod.
We may build a railing for a roof. Okay. We may build a railing for a roof or for a balcony in an unskilled manner, but not in a professional manner. We may replaster the cracks and roll them as if it were rolled with a roller, with a hand and foot, but not with a trowel. A hinge or a socket or a beam or a lock or a key that broke may be repaired during cold moed, provided that one does not plan his work for cold moed. All pickled foods that can be eaten during the festival may be pickled during cold moed. One who turned over his olives to soften them, and then morning befell him, or an accident befell him, or his workers misled him, and he may take place the first beam and leave it until after the festival. The opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says he may pour the olives into a press, complete the process, and seal the barrels in its usual manner. Similarly, one whose wine was in the vat and then morning befell him, or an accident befell him, or his workers misled him, may pour the wine into barrels, complete its processing, and seal the barrels in its usual manner, and that's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yehuda says he may cover the barrels with boards so that the wine does not sour. Okay?
Hey. Here I am.
Hey. One may plant a cucumber in a gourd in one hollow, provided this leans to one side and the other leans to the other side. The tips of the leaves are one side to one side, and the tips of the leaves to the other side, because whatever the sages forbid, they decreed only on account of appearances. Okay. If his field was sown with onions and he wishes to plant it in rows of gourds, Rabbi Ishmael says he uproots 2 rows and plants 1 row, leaves the standing crop of onions over the space of 2 rows, and uproots 2 rows and plants 1 row. Rabbi Akiva says he uproots 2 rows and plants 2 rows, leaves the standing crop of onions over the space of 2 rows, and uproots 2 rows and plants 2 rows. So they come and say if there are not 12 cubits between one row and another, he may not retain the seeds between them. Gourd in vegetable is a vegetable, but in grain it is given a bet rova. If one's field was sown with grain and he wished to plant it in a row of gourds, it is given six tefachim for tending it. But if it grew, he must uproot in front of it. Rabbi Yossi says it is given 4 amas to tend it. They said it to him, do you treat this more stringently than vine? And he said to them, we find this to be more stringent than vine. Since a single vine is given 6 tefachim to tend it, but a single gourd is given a bet rova. Meir says in the name of Rabbi Ishmael, wherever there are 3 gourds in a bet saw, he may not bring into the bet saw any seed. Rabbi Yossi Hachatov said in the name, no, he said he may not bring into the bet saw any seed. Rabbi Yossi ben Hachatov Friday said in the name of Rabbi Ishmael, wherever there are 3 gourds in a bet core, he may not bring into the bet core any seed.
Halem.
Okay, test of base. Baking boards and bakers are tummy, but those of householders are tahor. If he painted them with red paint or painted them with saffron dye, they are tummy. Regarding a baker's shelf that was fixed onto a wall, Eliezer rules of tahor, but the stages rule of tummy. A utility plate of bakers is tummy, but the plate of householders is tahor. If one made a rim on its four sides, it is tummy. If it subsequently becomes broken on one side, it is tahor. When Mishna says one prepared it so that he may slice dough upon it, it is tummy. Similarly, the rolling pin is tummy. The screen of a sifter belonging to flour merchants is tummy, but that of householders is tahor. But Yehuda says also the screen of a hairdresser is susceptible to the tumor of the seat because the seat girls sit in it and have their hair braided. All hanging loops are tummy except the loop of a householder, sifter, and sieve. These are the words of Rameya, but the comments say they are all tahor except the loop of a flour merchant sifter, the loop of a sieve of the threshing floor, the loop of a hand sickle, the loop of a tax collector's staff, because they assist when the utensils in use. This is the general rule. Those designed to assist when the utensils in use are tummy. Those designed merely for hanging are tahor.
Okay.
We're going to finish this tomorrow also. So we're going to go to, what should we go to?
More Kalim.
Okay. Oh, that's right. This is already the second thing.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You
Enjoy
too. Cheers.